This variety is Ison. This was released from Ison's Nursery and Vineyard. This is a early to mid-season black self-fertile variety. Has good size for self-fertile, typically about 1.1 inches. As you can see here, it can ripen relatively uniformly. Some of the characteristics that I like about the Ison, first of all, it's one of the first black varieties that ripens. I would compare it to ripening time being very similar to Lane. It's a very vigorous growing plant. As you can see, there's a lot of vine growth here. In my opinion, it is one of the more vigorous growing varieties that we have. Production is very good. Really, it's excellent in my opinion. And it tends not to overcrop. So generally speaking, there's enough vine growth to support the crop load. Different uses for Ison. At its release, you know, we like to use it as an early season black self-fertile to complement Supreme. Usually the Ison will ripen, hit peak harvest time prior to Supreme. You can see those beautiful clusters there. So it would work well. We use it primarily early season self-fertile to complement Supreme. That way, if you did have a U-pick or were doing commercial fruit sales, you could use Ison on the early part of the season to offer fruit before Supreme would get ripe. And also you could use it in a clamshell capacity. You know, the one downside with Ison is the closer it gets to peak ripeness, it can start getting a little bit soft. So it always would have to be picked a little bit early to keep the firmness that, you know, the grocers or the wholesalers would want. Really, in my opinion, it's the perfect self-fertile for home use just because it's a low maintenance variety. Not a lot of disease issues, very vigorous growing, fantastic fruit. The different uses I would say for Ison today, it's very good for juice, jellies, jams, fresh market in a clamshell capacity, but because of the firmness, I think people are going to move away from that, primarily focus on using Lane and Polk. What we also like to do with Ison too is, you know, small acreage wineries, you know, we'd like to see them put in some Ison along with Noble for a red wine. Ison will typically make not quite as deep red of a wine as Noble will, but it's a little bit darker than a blush, but it does give a small winery a competitive advantage over larger wineries if they do incorporate some Ison in their vineyard. I really think the reason Dad named this one after our family was just because, you know, if you only had room for one plant and you're wanting to do all the different uses that a muscadine can offer, I really think Ison would fit that bill. So from a fresh market, eating off the vine, jellies, juices, jams, wine, I really think it's really the best variety that can incorporate all four of those uses. So there again, we're looking at Ison. That's it.